Hello and welcome to the next installment of the Typhoon Partner Spotlight webinar series. Today we're excited to welcome Wendy from Guardian Analytics. We'll give everyone another moment to join and we'll begin in about 2 minutes here. Hello again and welcome to the next installment of the Typhoon Partner Spotlight webinar series. Today we're excited to welcome Wendy from Guardian Analytics. Before we turn things over, a quick note. GoToWebinar puts everyone on mute, and if you are unable to mute. To ask questions, please type them in the question section and we'll read them at the end and respond to all questions then. Wendy, thank you so much for joining us and take it away.
Thank you, Jason. Good morning or afternoon, depending on which time zone or geolocations you are. Today, I am going to walk you through our real-time fraud detection with machine learning and behavioral analytics. Just before we jump into the details, let me quickly review the disclaimer or safe harbor statement. The following is intended to outline our general product direction. This is intended for information purpose only, and it may not be incorporated into any contract. It's not a commitment to deliver material, code, or functionality, and should not be relied upon in making purchase decisions. The development, release, and timing of any features or functionality described for Guardian Analytics products remains at the sole discretion of Guardian Analytics. And this is
Wendy, I'm sorry, Wendy, just to interrupt you briefly, I'm not sure if it's just me, but I am seeing a blank screen. Maybe you want to try stop sharing your screen and start sharing it one more time?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely. Let me try to stop it and then share it again.
Sorry to interrupt you. Just thought we should get that figured out. Okay, there we go.
Do you see the screen right now? Okay. And let me know if you continue to see it. I just changed it to presentation mode.
It looks like it is switching to a white screen when you go to presentation mode.
All right. Let's figure this out. I'm sorry about this.
Yeah, no problem. Of course, it wasn't doing this when we tested right before we started, so I'm not sure what changed.
That's right. It shouldn't change anything. Okay.
I'm still getting just a white screen. Maybe we just proceed with the PowerPoint view as we had it a moment ago. I think
I can definitely
work.
make this bigger, and I apologize for the technical challenge.
No problem. Thanks, Wendy.
All right. I'm Wendy. I'm the Director of Product Management at Guardian Analytics. So I'm going to walk everyone through how Guardian Analytics does fraud detection in real time with machine learning and behavioral analytics. So for the audience who are not familiar with us, we detect fraud and money laundering through behavioral analytics and machine learning. We alert the fraud and AML teams and then we can stop fraudulent and money laundering account activities based on the account owner's behavior. So our product portfolio consists of a suite of omnichannel fraud detection products. There's for digital banking online and mobile channel, and a number of payment channel products such as ACH, wire, P2P, and check. On the AML side, we provide Evidence Lake, which is our big data lake for transaction monitoring and CTR, and also the real-time CDD product suite for KYC and customer onboarding risk scoring. We do provide the business intelligence and fraud analytics to our customer. And then there's a little bit of a uniqueness for Guardian Analytics is that we provide a fraud desk service to our customer that the customer can outsource their fraud operation to Guardian Analytics. We have a team of fraud experts and the fraud analysts who can be on the front line to review those alerts. We are also a
Wendy,
member. Yes.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you one more time. Your screen is just a little bit big, so maybe if you want to downsize your slides just a tiny bit, I think that'll help the view.
Okay. Is it better? Hope everyone now can see the full presentation.
Maybe just a touch more, actually. It's cutting off the right-hand side and lower end of your slides.
Let's see if I can make this better. It might be my screen resolution. Is it
Perfect.
better?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
All right. Sorry about the slides. Well, the Guardian Analytics were sitting on the fraud definition workshop with Federal Reserve. So we work with them to define and develop the payment fraud definition. So the reason we believe real-time fraud detection using machine learning and behavioral analytics is important in today's world is because of the faster payment movement in the U.S. As we know, in the past year or so, the payment speed really started to accelerate. And then there's a spectrum of different kind of faster payment ranging from hours to minutes to seconds. In our range, we have seen acceleration of speed for ACH, that there's same-day ACH being widely adopted and services offered by NACHA. And there's the card networks are pushing for push-to card, and there's this Zelle real-time P2P service by Early Warning that has seen a significant adoption across the board from big financial institutions and across the small and community financial institutions. There's also the clearinghouse offering a new payment rail called the real-time payment. So there's a slew of activity in the market to increase the payment speed. And then the impact on operation hours also is also the increasing of for longer window of operation business hours. You know, starting from used to be support only within business hours, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, to 24/7 and every day of the year because of the availability of those payment services now to consumer and business and the real-time settlement of the funds. So the impact of payment acceleration on the fraud detection side is that the speed now outrun the rule-based fraud detection system. When payment speed becomes faster, there's little time left for manual risk review. And then also the 24/7 operating hours made it almost impossible for financial institutions to have a fraud team sitting there and reviewing those payments by humans. The rule-based fraud tools are incapable of monitoring the change of account behavior. So, for example, today we're we're in this pandemic situation where there's a lot of changes on both the consumer and the corporate side. And a lot of what we're seeing in our customer data is a lot of adoptions of now mobile and digital banking tools by the consumer, and then also the FI need to readjust how shelter in place in terms of their operation. So contacting third-party consultants trying to update your rule with a turnaround of days or weeks really has a huge impact on the effectiveness of fraud detection. And we has traditionally aware that rule-based fraud detection creates a very high false positives and a very high friction for the consumers if you use any kind of interdiction based on those high positive rates. So let me quote Donna Turner, who's the chief fraud policy at Zelle, when Zelle first launched and introduced into the mass market, that the single biggest requirement is you have to have a real-time fraud engine. If you're going to be in a real-time payment, you have to have the ability to say yes or no in real time. And this is a very pointed relating to how effective the fraud detection really is when payment speed becomes real time. So how does Guardian Analytics enable secure fast payments? How do we support our customers? We do have advanced machine learning and behavioral analytics that significantly reduce the false positives. So our customers, the fraud operation teams can focus on the high risk alerts that's more valuable to them. And then that's also supporting security, lowering the friction for legitimate payments. We would call this as a friction rate. We do support intervention of fraudulent payments in real time. So we're able to transform the fraud operation from loss recovery to loss prevention. And this all enabled through our enterprise API integration with various banking platforms. And Typhoon is one of those banking platforms that we did API integration supporting Zelle real-time fraud detection and intervention. So how do we transform loss recovery to loss prevention? If we measure the success of fraud detection in two dimensions, one of them is time to alert, as you see on the horizontal axis, and then the other is the layer of protection the system can put in place from post-transaction detection to pre-transaction detection and then multiple channels. Then we start to see that the bottom or the corner where we have a system that does only post-transaction monitoring and with a long delay from time to alert, then you put a financial institution in a recovery mode, loss recovery mode, and it's reactive to a fraud scheme. And then in the middle, where the system can do a little bit of pre or post-transaction monitoring only, but does not have the capability to do real-time intervention, then the financial institution is in a slightly better state that they may be able to proactively prevent some fraud from happening, but they're still in a loss recovery mode because they don't have the ability to stop a suspicious payment or user activity at the time when it happens. And then when we move to the outer edge where you put protection for both digital banking behavior and transaction behavior, and you support real-time risk scoring, detection, and intervention, this is where the financial institution can finally be in proactively monitoring their fraud and also preventing the loss from happening. So this is a quadrant where we really want to put our customer in to help them be successful in terms of their fraud prevention and mitigation. So I want to explain a little bit about machine learning and behavioral analytics because this term may sound very foreign for many people. What it really means is that we look at a individual behavior or account owner's behavior by looking at a variety of their data elements that demonstrate how or illustrate how they're using the digital banking system, what kind of payments or activity they perform. Some of the examples are login and access based on their login behavior, the IP address they're coming from, the geolocation, time and day, device and browser they use. We also look at their account management behavior, such as account inquiries, transactions, how do they change their password, whether they enroll into certain banking services. And then lastly, we look at the transaction behavior for both retail and business users. There's internal transfers to who and where the transfer funds are moving to, how frequently they move the funds, and then for business, for example, whether they use a template to do their ACH or wire transfers, or they do ad hoc one-time transfers. We also elicited reputation data to help us when we perform risk rating. So such as suspicious IP that's published by cybersecurity firms such as Frontier, or there's Guardian Analytics curated a blacklist of suspicious accounts, RDFIs. And all those are going to help determine the risk level or the risk score of a user when they use this a banking system. And then based on their banking activity, we provide that alert to the financial institution by saying, we think this banking activity is higher risk because X, Y, Z, and providing that reason for the fraud analyst to make a informed decision. So here's an example of the flow in this whole process. That is how we help determine whether there's a suspicious activities, whether it's a payments or digital banking account behavior, and how do we provide an alert to the fraud operation team and then supporting a real-time intervention. So the activity may start from an individual. Maybe it's a listener user, maybe it's a fraudster. That person may engage with digital banking activity or payments from a variety of channels. It could be mobile, it could be web, or maybe in person in a branch. These activities, for example, payment transfers are being sent to the digital banking or payment platform. And then those details get sent through the API to Guardian Analytics. So think, for example, on the left-hand side, we have Typhone here being the platform. On the right-hand side, we have Guardian Analytics doing the risk scoring as we receive the data through API. So all the risk scoring is done in real time. When the risk score is being generated, we provide alerts in our application user interface. So the fraud analyst has a chance to look at the alerts, but also at the same time, we can return an intervention based on a policy the FI can set in our application. So for example, the FI would like to put a payment on hold should the risk score is high. And then those are automated intervention actions that we send back to the platform. And then the instruction can be either hold or challenge or cancel the suspicious payment. And then if the FI should desire, they could also have human review as a secondary check on those payments that's been hold, and then they can make a manual decision later on to say, I want to either cancel or release this payment that was previously put on hold automatically. So the fourth step is returning that human decision from our platform back to the digital banking or payment platform to be executed. So this whole process enables real-time detection and real-time intervention, and also supporting a human intervention should the FI choose. So let's take a real life example, right? So today, there's a lot of COVID-19 related fraud schemes happening. And then in this one example where we see in our customer data is involving a Zelle transfer. So a typical COVID-19 scam could be fraudsters set up a fake online shop for consumers to buy face masks or disinfecting wipes or even fake testing kits. And then the purpose of this scam is to collect their personal or financial information in order to take over their banking account. Then the fraudster will try to transfer the money out of the victim's account. And in this particular case, is using Zelle as a vehicle. Then the fraudster will withdraw the account and disappear. And then the financial institution and the victim will have to deal with the financial loss. So what does a fraud analyst see in Guardian Analytics application if the scenario happens? Here is a presentation of the account behavior in a timeline view. Right, so every column you see on the green dots are representing a session activity. A session is the time period, and a set of activity happens from login to log out. As you can see, we capture all the activity and we risk score each one of them. And then we provide a list of the risk factors to the fraud analyst in informing them why we believe this is high risk and what are the suspicious behavior that we have detected and evaluated. So in this example, the last column can represent this fraudulent session where that a P2P transfer is involved. The fraudster has logged in successfully, were able to bypass MFA, change the password, and those are the suspicious activity that we have detected, and that we indicated with the right square on the timeline view. So it stands out to the user. And then the user, as a fraud analyst being the user here, they can see what kind of activity is engaged and then what kind of activity is considered high risk. And then there's a number of highlights in the risk factor that telling them, the transfer recipient is suspicious. There's very unusual login location that has not seen in the past history of this account. And then there's a slight change on the OS and browser and user agent. So these are the things that help the financial institution to understand what's happening and why they're high risk. So with this alert being generated, and if the real-time API integration is in place, and the FI has a policy to say, should this be a high-risk activity involving P2P using Zelle, then places payments on hold. Behind the scene, the payments may have already been on hold, or the digital banking platform could have raised an MFA challenge to further asking the user authenticate themselves. So that would prevent or deter the fraudster from proceeding by moving the account, by moving the funds out of the account. So in summary, for a secure and a friction-right digital banking experience, especially supporting a real-time P2P payment, such as using Zelle, the key elements that we believe are applying real-time fraud detection, utilizing machine learning and behavioral analytics so that you can always detect change in behavior and not relying on set fraud rules that require frequent updates should the fraudster change their scheme. And then also adopting the real-time risk-based intervention so that you have automation in place to deter the fraudster when suspicious activity happens, especially involving payment transfers. And then this buys the fraud operation team time for a manual review as a secondary checkpoint. And those can be applied across the board, regardless whether it's bill pay, online mobile, P2P, HOA, wire, ACH, and RTP. So we provide all these protection across different channels for our customer. And the more layer of protection that you have, the more capability you leverage in terms of real-time detection and intervention, the more secure the experience you can afford for your consumer or business, and safely supporting their fast payment experience. So if you want to know a little bit more of how digital banking and payment fraud insights, we do have a webinar. So this is a Guardian Analytics webinar coming up on the 20th, focusing more on the wire fraud side. And there's a number of other webinars that we have published from before in the Bright Talk, so you can subscribe to our channel. A lot of them are focusing on how do we securely provide fraud detection and enable faster payment experience. And with that, I'm handing it back to Jason, and I welcome any questions that you may have.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Wendy. Yeah, again, feel free to post questions that you may have in the chat feature on the right-hand side there of GoToWebinar. We have had a couple come through. The first one, does Guardian Analytics support the multi-factor authentication challenge to block a user from sending money using Zelle?
Good question. So Guardian Analytics supports returning a risk score for each user activity of interest back to the integrated digital banking platform or payment platform. So that means the banking platform has the flexibility to use any intervention method to increase the friction to deter the fraudster. So, for example, the integration we have with Typhone using it to, or the customer, the Typhone support can choose to do multi-factor authentication, but the execution of the MFA challenge is done by Typhone. We provide the indicator, or the, for example, the activity with the risk score back to Typhone. So this allows the FI to choose the best or the most suitable form of security to deter fraudulent activity. But Guardian Analytics by itself, we do not interface with the end user directly. Therefore, we don't throw MFA challenges.
Excellent, thank you. And then kind of a similar follow-up question. Is it possible to challenge or block a Zelle transaction when a Guardian Analytics risk score is high in real time?
The answer is yes. So again, I'm going to use the integration we have with Typhone as an example. When the integration is API-based, the user activity that is sent to Guardian Analytics from Typhone is in real time. Our machine learning model can score the activity in real time as well. And the risk score is sent back to Typhone again in real time. So this all happens within milliseconds. So if Typhone supports throwing a challenge or block the Zelle payment for your financial institution, then that action can be executed in real time.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Wendy. It doesn't look like we have any other questions that have come through. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, Wendy and Guardian Analytics. We truly appreciate your partnership. If you have any questions about Guardian and our current Typhone customer, please reach out to your account manager or our sales team, and we'd be happy to help. If you're not a current Typhone customer, please feel free to reach out to Wendy and the Guardian team directly. Her contact info is provided in the webinar description. This webinar will be hosted as a recording on the Typhone website that you can access at any time. Again, thank you, Wendy, and everyone that joined. Have a great day.
Thank you.